Greetings and welcome back to the channel. I'm glad that you guys are here. I hope that you guys are doing well. This is the most objective magic review channel here on YouTube. Today I'm taking a look at Dan Harlan's Mental Block. Now you may have seen this trending on Penguin's bestseller recently. I've been road testing this for a little over a month now. As usual, I have no disclaimers because no one sent this to me. I bought this with my own money. And for $30, you can pick this up where you're going to get the necessary props that you need, as well as a 30-minute video from Dan Harlan, where you're going to watch him perform a live performance of his 6-phase routine. And then he's going to go over how to perform it, all of the moves and variations of the moves, as well as several tips. That's pretty much what you can expect here. Now this effect is as old as the hills, and you probably have some version of this if you bought a magic set growing up as a kid. Most recently, Brent Braun and the Magic Firm put out their version, which was called the 4K Color Vision box. That version used a small plastic box, and the die or the cube was just a small cube that had colored circles around the sides of it. Unfortunately, it looked kind of like a strange prop. Looked like a magic prop. Didn't look normal. Doesn't look like anything you would find in the, around you normally. In here, Penguin Magic has revamped the prop, so the prop looks like a small wooden block from your toy set, something that we're all familiar with growing up. You're going to get the actual block as well as a wooden box that it fits into, and this is slightly bigger than the 4K Color Vision box, so it's a little bit more visual, so maybe that's even better for when you perform for more than one person. So this is what you can expect to get, and as I mentioned, the premise is as old as the hills because there's other versions of this same idea out there. One example would be, for instance, Pro Mystics Multi-Dimensional, where they use a cube. It's the exact same kind of effect, except this is reliant on electronics. Whereas the Mental Block by Dan Harlan, it uses a clever principle and some basic sleight of hand for you to obtain the information. Now, the actual effect of this is very simple. You have the spectator choose a side that they like. They put it in the box with the side face up that they're going to remember, and then put the cover on it, the top on it. And then you're able to mentally, by clairvoyance, be able to start telling them what is the side that's facing up. Now, the nice thing about the creation of this box is that each side is different color coded, and it has, each color could be a flavor or a smell, which goes perfectly with the presentation and Dan Harlan's routine, as well as there's like little pictures, like the red A has an apple, the orange C has a little cat drawn on it. So that's great for the revelation phase. So it's very creative in that way. In terms of Dan Harlan's routine, he goes over a 6-phase routine, which is based on the 5 senses. The nice thing about it is that each phase kind of cancels out the phase behind it in terms of the method. So that's nice because you start out with the idea that you can see which side is face up, and then you go into this idea where you can feel which side is face up, and then maybe where you can hear which side is face up, you can smell, and so that's all of your 5 senses are involved. It's really a creative routine which makes sense because of the design of the block. In my own road testing of this, I found that the last 2 phases I actually stopped using because the 5th phase, the block disappears from the box, and then the 6th phase, you have a borrowed object that they put in the box. And the reason I eliminated the last 2 phases was because I didn't want the spectators to think that the secret was just reliant on the box. I wanted them to believe that somehow the cube was involved in the method. And I found that people were they were less likely to have any clue how this was done when I would just do like the first 4 phases and just leave out the last 2. So that was my own preference from road testing this. After a while, I realized that for me personally, I like doing it that way better. you may have different experiences. So in terms of some questions you may have about this, difficulty-wise, I would rate this as beginner level. The actual sleights that are necessary to perform this are super basic. You'll learn them in about 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe add on 20 minutes of practice before you feel confident enough to go and show this to anyone. It really is so simple, and the misdirection is huge, so your spectators are going to have no clue. The actual secret that's involved is stupid simple, and because of that, they'll never think of it, which is really funny when you think about it. But that's the reality of it. In terms of the angles are great. You just can't have somebody directly behind you, but I've had people all around me without any kind of problems at all. There are no gimmicks or gaffes in play, so everything can be examined in detail, and your spectators are going to want to look at this really up close. They're going to ask you to repeat it over and over and over again until they realize that they can't figure it out, and then they'll stop. But they'll still play with it for a while. And in my own experiences, what happened was after I performed it for somebody, they would go and grab somebody else and bring them over and say, hey, you have to watch this. You have to see this. And that's how I know that this is such an excellent routine, when the person says, I need to grab somebody else to see this, because this is incredible. And part of the reason is because it is such a simple, basic effect. It's so simple to understand that they're just putting the cube in the box, remembering the top, and that's it. And then you're mentally coming up with what it is. It couldn't be any simpler than that, which is why this is really so strong. Let's go over my rating, and then I'll give you guys some final thoughts about this. So in terms of creativity, as I mentioned before, I would give this 4 out of 5. The main reason is because I think the prop is perfect for this effect, perfectly justified, and I really like how each side is a flavor or a smell, and the little pictures on each side, it just helps with the revelation. So creativity, I have to give this 4 out of 5, especially Dan Harlan's routine. It's excellent. You're going to really like it a lot. In terms of the teaching, I would give it 5 out of 5 because I think Dan Harlan did an excellent job going over all of the moves, some tips, some ideas, and even his own experiences with the routine. In terms of comparison with other products, the closest product to compare this to is Brent Braun's 4K color vision box, where some people have said they like that version better because the box is smaller and that they could handle it with just one hand. I would argue that this size is actually better, especially if you're performing for more than one person, because it's easier to see. I would say the only real advantage of the 4K color vision box is that you get an extra cube, which gives you a little more versatility in the method. If they were to add an extra cube to this, this would be amazing. This would be like unbeatable. And so that's probably the only real negative of this, is that you don't get an extra cube that would allow you the flexibility that you get with the 4K color vision box. But that being said, I would still rate this as 4 out of 5 in terms of comparison with other effects, because I don't think you really miss it, and I don't think you really need it. But it would be nice if that was included. Maybe Penguin Magic can release like a deluxe version of this that has an extra cube. That would be kind of a cool thing. In terms of audience reactions, I would rate this as 5 out of 5 because I only got the strongest reactions from this. People are going to be amazed by this. They're going to want to see it over and over again, and they're going to want their friends to see it. So 5 out of 5 for audience reactions. In terms of quality of the props, I would give this 4 out of 5 because this is really made to last. I think you could probably take this cube and throw it down the street and it'll probably be just fine. In terms of the box though, you really don't want to drop this, and you probably should just keep all of this inside of this little magnetic holder that you get with this, because that way everything's together and you don't lose it, and it's just perfect. You can just keep this in your case or in your bag and you're ready to go whenever you want to. The nice thing about this product is that it's really made to last, and I think it's well worth the investment. Finally, in terms of the price, I would rate that as 3 out of 5, which is a favorable rating. It's not cheap, but definitely is something that's going to last you if you take care of it. You're going to get a lot of fun out of it, a lot of performances. So I think it is favorable in terms of the price. So my final rating for this product is 4.17 out of 5. Highly favorable. I would recommend that if you're into mentalism or even just magic in general, you should pick this up while it's still available. Because, you know, most magic products, eventually they discontinue them and then you can't get them anymore. So I would recommend that you pick this up. As I mentioned before, the only real negative that I could tell you about this product is probably that you didn't get an extra cube to have a little more versatility. But that being said, it virtually has no negatives. And it's something that you're going to be able to rely on over and over again. It's one of those products that I can tell you guys, like, just completely recommend it to you and say that you're really going to be pleased with it, especially when you see how simple the method is, yet how impossible it is for your spectator to unravel it. They'll never come up with it. So anyway, as usual, if you have any comments or questions, just leave them for me below. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning into my magic reviews, and I'll see you on the next one.